Hello and welcome to Weekly News Highlights. I'm Kim Dami in Seoul. Let's take a look at the stories that made headlines this week. This week, the U.S. and NATO also confirmed Seoul's claims that thousands of North Korean soldiers are in Russia receiving training, something Russian President Vladimir Putin avoided directly commenting on. South Korea's economy grew 0.1% on quarter in the third quarter this year, which is a slower than expected growth rate due to sluggish exports. More than 20,000 babies were born in the month of August, maintaining the upward trend for a second consecutive month. Many couples who pushed their weddings because of the pandemic got married between August 2022 and March 2023 and are believed to have nudged the figures up. The U.S. and NATO this week also acknowledged that at least 3,000 personnel have been sent to eastern Russia and are undergoing combat training there. And following that confirmation, Russian President Vladimir Putin made no denial about claims that North Korean forces are in Russia to fight. Our An Sung-jin starts us off.
Russia has mentioned North Korean troops in the country for the first time. According to Russia's state-owned news agency TASS, when asked about satellite imagery of North Korean troops during a press conference at the BRICS summit on Thursday, Russian President Vladimir Putin said that images are a serious thing. If there are images, then they reflect something.
We never doubted the leadership of North Korea treats our agreement seriously. But what we will do and how we will do it is up to us. We are in touch with our North Korean friends, and we will see how this process develops.
On the same day, Russian lawmakers ratified a mutual military assistance pact with North Korea. The lower house of the Russian parliament voted to endorse the comprehensive strategic partnership treaty that Putin had signed with North Korean leader Kim Jong-un during a visit to Pyongyang in June. The upper house is expected to follow soon. The pact obliges Russia and North Korea to immediately provide military assistance using all means if either is attacked. Ukraine's military intelligence service announced on Thursday local time that a group of North Korean soldiers were spotted on the 23rd in Russia's Kursk region, an area bordering Ukraine. The Ukrainian military also said that there are about 12,000 North Korean troops in Russia, including 3 generals and 500 officers that are training at 5 military bases in eastern Russia. The U.S. Defense Department said on Thursday that regarding the deployments of troops to battlefields such as Kursk, there was nothing to disclose, adding that they will have to wait and see what exactly they will do. The spokesperson also noted that if North Korea participates in combat, it will become a joint belligerent, and it is a very serious issue that causes instability in the Indo-Pacific region. An Sung-jin, Arirang News.
And the South Korean government vowed action based on the scale of North Korean support of Russia's war efforts, which could include considering supplying weapons to Ukraine. Our top office correspondent Kim Dong reports.
A quote, military collusion is what the presidential office called North Korea's deployment of troops to support Russia's invasion of Ukraine while calling for an immediate halt and the retrieval of forces. This came on Tuesday as the National Security Council held a standing committee meeting to discuss potential responses.
The government will implement phased response measures according to the progress of military cooperation between Russia and North Korea following North Korea's dispatch of combat troops. In this process, we will closely coordinate with our allies and friendly nations to ensure that strong and effective measures are taken against the Russia-North Korea military cooperation.
While the top office opted not to specify what the responses would be, as revealing them could impact future cooperation with Russia and North Korea, an official told reporters that responses could be through diplomacy, economic retaliations, or even military action. In addition, the top office says it's opened the possibility of the military cooperation between Pyongyang and Moscow threatening peace on the Korean Peninsula, and possible scenarios are being reviewed. It also condemned North Korea for neglecting its own people, calling it a criminal organization.
Meanwhile, attendees of the meeting pointed out that the North Korean regime, which has completely ignored the livelihoods and human rights of its people while focusing solely on nuclear missile development, is now driving young North Koreans into a senseless war of mercenaries for Russia. This, we noted, is an act of admitting that the regime is a criminal organization.
In the meantime, South Korea is the only country to confirm North Korea's deployment of troops for Russia, other than Ukraine, with President Volodymyr Zelensky saying so himself. A top office official says that the intel was a result of gathering and sharing with the nation's allies and friendly nations like the US and Ukraine over an extended period of time. Therefore, the current stance taken by the US, who has much to consider before confirming this, is unrelated to the objectivity of the intelligence. In fact, confirmation should follow soon. In addition, the official said that it's not clear how the deployment will impact the front lines in Ukraine, as there are many factors that will play into it. And South Korea currently is diplomatically calling for the retrieval of troops before it gets to the front lines and to stop the cooperation at this stage. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
With North Korea firmly denying the deployment, Russia has been taking a rather ambiguous stance, with President Vladimir Putin sidestepping about the claims. For more, we have our North Korean Affairs correspondent Kim Jung-sil joining me here in the studio. Good to have you with us, Jung-sil.
Thanks for having me, Dami.
So let's start with the US and NATO finally confirming there is truth in the speculation.
Tami, this is a significant development. U.S. and NATO officials confirmed the presence of approximately 3,000 North Korean troops in Russia's Far East. They have yet to confirm if these soldiers will actually participate in combat in Ukraine, but the White House said it's a, quote, highly concerning probability. Professor Chung Jae-won from Kookmin University says it's possible the recently leaked videos of North Korean soldiers might have prompted the confirmation. Take a listen.
If you look at the videos, it seems unlikely they are fake. What's important here is that we hear both Russian and North Korean languages, along with scenes showing the distribution of Russian military uniforms. From my perspective, Russia has been trying to keep things strategically ambiguous, but now they're in a situation where they can't really back out.
I mean, it's going to be winter soon. Even the soldiers in the videos are wearing winter gear. Why would North Korea send these soldiers to such a harsh environment?
What you're saying is actually extremely important. Experts say the war is taking a toll on Moscow as well, with Russian casualties reportedly nearing 700,000 since the beginning of the war. They warn that soldiers from North Korea are likely going to be lost if they were to fight in such a harsh environment.
There is talk that North Korea lacks combat experience, and there's a language barrier and unfamiliarity with the terrain. While Russia has a technical and military advantage, it also relies on highly inefficient tactics. I mean, look at what they're doing in Donbass. Now, Russia may send North Korean soldiers to defend Kursk or whatever else. It may work, but it will come with heavy losses.
So the loss of these North Korean soldiers is almost expected, and we have to wonder what Pyongyang is getting in return. Take a listen to Professor Lee Mul-chul of Gyeongnam University's theory.
North Korea's unconventional decision is driven by the expectation that it will receive military and economic support from Russia. The political benefits of reasserting Kim Jong-un's international standing and influence are also likely to be taken into account. Militarily, North Korea is likely to use the deployment as an opportunity to modernize its defense forces and strengthening its war-fighting capabilities.
Lastly, what actions can we take in collaboration with the international community then?
Well, experts suggest that there's actually not a lot of chance that Pyongyang will actually start a war with Seoul or in Ukraine, but they also said we should closely monitor the de facto military alliance between Moscow and Pyongyang. This alliance not only creates conditions for potential Russian intervention on the Korean peninsula in the event of conflict, but also enhances North Korea's military capabilities. Take a listen to what they said.
We need to work with the international community to demonstrate concretely in words and actions that the disadvantages to Russia of military cooperation with North Korea far greater than the benefits. Strengthening strategic communication with China is also necessary.
From an ethnic perspective, regardless of how rigorously these soldiers train, we must acknowledge that they are being sent to a situation where they are essentially being sacrificed. This is something we can criticize from both humanitarian and human rights viewpoints.
As the dynamic between Moscow and Pyongyang evolves, it is crucial for the international community to stay vigilant and proactive. The implications of this de facto alliance could significantly reshape regional security, requiring a strategic response. Experts emphasize the importance of considering the Russian factor as we coordinate extended deterrence efforts with the U.S. against North Korea. Additionally, strengthening communication with neighboring countries like Japan and China is vital. Throughout these efforts, experts said we must not lose sight of the humanitarian dimensions of this situation.
Thank you, Chung-Sir, for that thorough report today. We'll have to closely monitor the developing situations.
Yes, we should. Thank you, Tammy.
And the South Korean military is remaining vigilant with an annual large-scale drill taking place involving a combined river crossing exercise with the U.S. Our defense correspondent Kim Bo-kyung has this report.
After the smoke screen is set up, K-21 armored vehicles cross the river one by one. This is the part of Korea and the United States combined river crossing exercise as part of the annual large-scale military Hwaguk drill. The exercise began its 3-week run since on Sunday, aiming to enhance the combat capabilities and joint forces interoperability against North Korea's threats. Considering the geographical features of having lots of streams and rivers on the peninsula, river crossings are essential. And thus, as part of large-scale field training exercise, 1,000 soldiers from battalions of ROK Army's 7th Maneuver Corps along with the 2nd Infantry Division ROK-US combined forces took part in combined wet gap crossing training exercises.
A contested wet gap crossing is one of the hardest operations to execute in land warfare. To execute it together, as we did, with our same soldiers sharing our equipment to span the gap that neither of us could span on our own, is an outstanding demonstration of the strength and commitment of the ROK-US alliance.
One notable amphibious bridging vehicle that has been self-produced by Korea is the KM-3 that had its inaugural deployment in June. This is the first time this KM-3, or Suryong, roughly translated to water dragon in English, has been deployed in the real river crossing drill.
I'm currently riding on a KM-3 amphibious bridging vehicle. This vehicle can turn into a bridge, allowing troops and other vehicles, such as tanks, to swiftly cross rivers.
The KM-3, a Korean version of Germany's M3 amphibious rig, has been developed by Hanwha Aerospace and can carry equipment weighing up to 60 tons. Not only does it reduce the installation time by up to 70%, but also operational personnel by up to 80%.
The time for setup takes much less for the existing RBS, the ribbon bridge system. It can be deployed within 10 minutes, and only 3, the 1/6 of the personnel, is required to set up. It thus enables quicker and more stable support for river crossing operations.
The Hwaguk defense drill will go on until November 8th. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Yeoju.
Leaders of South Korea and Poland also acknowledged the security threat stemming from North Korea's deployment, as the two sides vowed to boost arms exchanges during their summit here in Seoul on Thursday.
Perhaps a timely summit. President Yoon Suk-yeol on Thursday hosted the president of a key partner and a border country to Ukraine, Poland's Andrzej Duda, for a state visit. President Yoon Suk-yeol took the chance to deliver another statement regarding North Korea's recent deployment of troops to support Russia's invasion of Ukraine.
특히 유엔 헌장과 안보리 결의를 정면으로 위반하는 북한의 러시아 파병은 한반도와 유럽을 넘어 전 세계의 안보를 위협하는 도발이라는 점에 의견을 같이 했습니다.
President Duda took the chance to show appreciation for South Korea's support of Ukraine so far.
We also discussed security issues with President Yoon today, and I expressed my gratitude for South Korea's consistent political and humanitarian support for Ukraine. South Korea has maintained a clear stance against Russia's invasion since the beginning of the war.
President Yoon's support for Ukraine is in fact tied closely with Poland. When he was in Poland for a visit in July last year, he made a surprise trip to Ukraine. The preparation and the visit itself were supported by Poland. In the meantime, Duda's visit completed the two leaders' exchanges of the highest level of diplomatic welcomes, and this was the first state visit by a Polish leader to South Korea in 11 years. And as many expected, one key area of cooperation was the defense industry. The two leaders discussed further strengthening and expanding exchanges in this area. In 2022, Poland signed procurement deals worth 17 trillion won, or $12.3 billion to buy K-2 tanks, K-9 self-propelled howitzers, Fa-50 light attack aircraft, and Chunmoo multiple rocket launchers from South Korea to bolster its defenses in the wake of the Russia-Ukraine war. The two leaders discussed a deal for a second round of K-2 procurement worth $7 billion within this year. And it doesn't stop in the defense industry.
양국은 지금까지 쌓아온 신뢰를 바탕으로 국방 방산 당국 간 정례 협의체를 가동하고 상호 안보와 국방에 기여할 수 있는 협력 방안을 함께 모색해 나갈 것입니다.
Other areas for more cooperation included clean energy and nuclear power, as well as advanced technology. The two leaders also pledged more cultural and civilian exchanges with increased direct flights from the two countries. Kim Do-yeon, Arirang News.
Findings for the third quarter show Korea's gross domestic product marked a rather modest growth of 0.1% on quarter, affected by sluggish auto shipments overseas. Our Moon Hae-ryun explains.
South Korea's economic growth has fallen short of earlier forecasts due to sluggish auto exports. Data from the Bank of Korea on Thursday showed that the country's GDP grew by a modest 0.1% between July and September this year, compared to the previous quarter. While this marked an improvement from the 0.2% contraction in the second quarter, the growth rate fell short of the central bank's earlier forecast in August of 0.5%. The country's GDP has seen fluctuations this year, with a 1.3% increase in the first quarter of the year followed up with the biggest decline seen since 2022. The BOK attributed the sluggish growth to a decline in exports of 0.4% in the third quarter, particularly in non-IT products such as vehicles and chemical goods. It's the first time since the fourth quarter of 2022 that exports have fallen quarter on quarter. Facility renovations at auto production plants, as well as partial strikes at auto parts companies, have contributed to sluggish auto exports, as well as what is being called a chasm for the electric vehicle market.
For chemical goods and electrical equipment, demand for materials that go into making electronic vehicles and batteries is going down along with lower demand for EVs.
Construction investment also dwindled due to a slump in civil engineering and building construction. Domestic demand, however, showed recovery as expected, led by increases in private consumption of goods and services as well as facility investment. As we move forward, the BOK's August forecast said the country's economy will expand by 0.6% in the next quarter, and the overall annual growth will come to 2.4%. The central bank is expected to release a revised growth forecast in November, taking into account the latest economic data and global developments, meaning it could lower its growth forecast for 2024 due to the weaker-than-expected third-quarter performance. The International Monetary Fund also forecast earlier this week that South Korea's GDP per capita would rise 1.6% this year compared to the previous year, overtaking Japan. Moon Hae-ryun, Arirang News.
The International Monetary Fund expects South Korea's economy to grow 2.5% this year and 2.2% next year, the same as its forecast in July. October's projection aligns with OECD expectations and is lower than the anticipation growth set by the South Korean government of 2.6% for this year. The IMF says the world economy is expected to expand by 3.2% by the end of the year, but lowered its projection for next year to 3.2%, 0.1 percentage points down from its July forecast. Still, the IMF gave a positive assessment of the global fight against inflation, that after peaking at 9.4% year-on-year in the third quarter of 2022, it's hopeful headline inflation will fall to 3.5% by the end of next year. Another green light for the country's demographics. The number of births in South Korea in August remained in the 20,000 range, following an increase seen in July. There were 20,098 births in the month of August, a 5.9% increase compared to the same month last year. It's also the biggest on-year rise in 12 years. It is believed that many couples who delayed their weddings due to the COVID-19 got married between August 2022 and March 2023, with the majority choosing to have children. Now, officials say it's possible that the number of births will keep rising in the third quarter, and if this trend continues for the rest of the year, the annual birth rate might increase for the first time since 2014. Sacheon Air Show 2024 is back in Sacheon City in Gyeongsang-namdo Province, offering people a chance to enjoy thrilling flight displays and demonstrations in the bright autumn sky. Our Kim Bo-kyung takes us there.
Aircraft soar up into the sky, showcasing Korea's very own aviation prowess. At Sacheon, dubbed the center of the aerospace industry, with Korea Aerospace Industries and the recently opened Korea Aerospace Administration nestled in the region, the 2024 air show kicked off on Thursday. This is the first year the show is hosted with the Korean Air Force after it decided to do so biannually. Being the only air show in the southern region, it gives a chance for people to see an array of demonstration flights by domestically produced aircraft such as the LAH, a light armored helicopter, the supersonic T-50 trainer, and the KT-1 basic training aircraft.
Aviation enthusiasts can see a range of flight displays. One particular highlight is Korea's next generation fighter jet KF-21, also known by its Korean name, Borame.
This next generation combat aircraft with indigenous technology, marking a historical milestone in the progress of Korea's aviation industry, was on ground display for the first time in 2022, and it is now performing a demonstration flight for the Sacheon Air Show 2024, its first in the region. Another popular event to watch is the Korean Air Force's Black Eagles aerobatic display team. As the Air Force's only special flight team, consisting of 8 T-50s, it will showcase various aerobatic flying maneuvers.
The tornado maneuver is an advanced aerial display where 8 aircraft move as if they are one, performing in a vertical circular formation before splitting off in 8 directions and landing individually. It is one of the most challenging maneuvers as it requires an incredible level of teamwork to the point where pilots can almost feel each other's breath.
The air show will last for 4 days until this Sunday. Kim Bo-kyung, Arirang News, Sacheon.
The cool autumn breeze is back, and so are vibrantly colored fall flowers. Hwasun County is especially enjoying the autumn blossoms, with a fall flower festival bringing many visitors to the region. Our Park Kwon-woo brings you the scent of autumn.
UNESCO's World Heritage Dolmen site in Hwasun County in southwest South Korea gets more special in the autumn. That's because the 2.3 million square meter area, similar in size to over 3,000 football fields, gets partially filled with many different kinds of flowers as part of the Hwasun Dolmen Fall Flower Festival. As you can see, this festival has a variety of vibrant colored fall flowers blossoming in this spacious area, allowing people to take nice selfies here. Beautiful flowers from golden sunflowers to delicate cosmos and chrysanthemums are just some of the flowers you can enjoy. A total of 10 different flowers that bloom in autumn are on display at the site, with special artwork also intriguing visitors.
I really like how they make different kinds of animals with flowers. So I took a lot of pictures. I'll come here every year as long as I'm alive.
It's really cute, so coming here so relaxed. I was first time watching, it's really good.
It's great to spend time with my family in this wonderful weather with a gentle breeze.
The festival also captures the interest of visitors with its signature snacks for sale at an outdoor cafe in front of a large sunflower field. One of the most popular desserts was the all-black ice cream, created to commemorate the region's coal mine which closed last year. It has a sweet taste, but is also salty to express the saltiness of a miner's sweat. And due to the recent reading craze following South Korean writer Han Gang's Nobel Prize win, a zone was also created near the dolmens for people to read and relax.
The festival was planned to promote the cultural heritage of Hwasun, and we are aiming to develop various dolmen-related programs to make this a bigger festival.
With a target of bringing in around 200,000 people to the event just this year, the Fall Flower Festival runs until November 3rd. Park Gon-woo, Arirang News, Hwasun.
That's all we have for this week's Weekly News Highlights. Thanks so much for staying with us.